So my task today is to make you enthusiastic about livestock and what's going on in the livestock space. I think that clearly we've heard already a lot about what's going on with crops. However, livestock has become front and center in terms of where we see things happening, primarily because of, with COVID, we're facing into a food system which is obviously increasingly viewed as fragile. And that has resulted in the dumping of milk. We've lost a certain amount in terms of broken eggs, and of course, closed meat factories, which I think we're going to address a little bit later. But I always believe in that you should try to find ways to make lemonade out of lemons. And so I think what we're really interested in at the moment is in looking at how we can make positive changes in livestock, particularly in milk, meat, and eggs, through technology. When we think about what livestock farmers need to do, we're really blessed or maybe challenged by the fact there are a lot of different technologies out there. And I talk about them in terms of being 8 digital technologies, probably more like 9 for those of you that have eagle eyes and look at this figure of 8. But basically the top 4 being robots, drones, 3D printers, and sensors being hardware-based. The bottom 4, artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality being software-based, and the Internet of Things being the fulcrum of those. From a 3D printing perspective, we for the first time started thinking about what 3D printers could do in this new environment. Specifically, the inability to bring parts onto the farm, the inability to maybe fix things the way that we would have as we wait for the FedEx to arrive, or as we see some of the supply chains being broken. So tremendous opportunities with 3D printers to solve those problems, but even perhaps we imagine food ingredients such as the extracts that come from milk or meat being used and repurposed, or even eggs, to produce food itself and print that directly in a restaurant or in the home. From a robotic perspective, we've already mentioned, I've heard mentioned, the fact we are now embracing robots like never before. We're embracing them on the farm because we, of course, face tremendous issues in terms of labor, some of the work being nasty and dangerous, but it has been increasingly difficult to find people to do some of those jobs. And clearly, even in the areas such as milking cows, that's something that we're seeing happening faster and faster. Milking cows such as the Delaval, Lely, Bomatic robots have been embraced. But you also see, even within the equine area, the ability to just do things that are just harder to do with a large animal, and particularly with humans involved. This is me wearing a soft robot, and clearly the potential of soft robots to do tasks that are both involve physical lifting, but also delicate. That's a tremendous opportunity in the livestock business. Drones are not being used very much in livestock farming. Many animals are not happy with drones, scared by them. Particularly, we've tried them in pigs and poultry. So I don't know that drones in per se are going to have a great use in the livestock field. But sensors are certainly being embraced like never before. And particularly in large animals, again, horses, cows, we see that market growing tremendously, much less so in smaller species, pigs, sheep, goats, and chickens. But they are being used to measure environmental changes. The market already for cows is tremendous. There are a lot of sensors being used in the livestock business, and we feel that this will continue to grow, albeit that there are certain challenges, particularly with the ability of animals to break what they're wearing, the ability of these sensors to continue working over a period of time when batteries, etc., start to fade. We are moving increasingly towards the use of artificial intelligence in all aspects of all of these technologies, the ability to monitor food or feed consumption, production and processing. In Cainthus, which is the company I'm the CEO of, and as mentioned, was considered to be one of the founders, albeit that the other 3 actively involved themselves for the first 3 years, and I came in actively from year 4. But we're converting visual information into actionable insights. That means physically putting cameras into barns, in this case into cow barns, and using those cameras like a fisheye to be able to see absolutely every cow, in this case, how they're acting, what behavior they're exhibiting, looking at feed, and in particular at the moment, very focused on feed, which is 55% of the cost of producing that milk, seeing how that feed is disappearing. We use, as you can see here, a mask to color the feed. This allows us to identify where the feed is available to that cow, and from that then we're able to make management decisions, particularly with respect to where the feed is low, which has implications for productivity, implications for milk production, and not least even for animal welfare. That gives insights which are delivered to the producer on an app, which they can then view on their phone or on their iPad or on their laptop, and allows them to make decisions in real time, which manage people better, manage the process better. And as we move beyond feed into other applications, we're now looking at designing the bedding better, designing the barns better, and looking at the flow of animals to make sure that they're happy, healthy, and productive. Augmented reality is something I'm very excited by. I've always thought it to be quite a slow burn in terms of livestock farming. But again, COVID has accelerated the acceptance of this technology. And I think we mentioned earlier the potential it has to identify pathogens in meat, eggs, and maybe even in milk. We see this increasingly being used in different forms, and companies such as, for example, Labby, very much embracing what you can do to detect somatic cell counts in milk. Of course, within all these realities and these environments that we have that stretch from the real environment to virtual, it's just increasingly interesting to think about how we can augment human senses, particularly visual senses, by delivering more and more information to producers so they can make better decisions. And we see this being used in livestock as well. Virtual reality might not strike you as being that exciting, but it is extraordinarily interesting from the perspective of being able to train people, educate consumers. We see it being used at the University of Liverpool here to train veterinarians in terms of recognizing some of the issues that you have with calving and with cows. We've seen it being used by people like McDonald's in terms of being able to educate consumers better where their food comes from. And I think that that's clearly a tremendous opportunity. Blockchain, very much familiar with this, not a visual, but does allow us to put that information that we're gaining or taking from those visual aids and from other data collection devices into format that's immutable and can't be changed. And when we think about regaining the confidence of consumers, it's not surprising to see groups such as Walmart, Carrefour, and others increasingly using blockchain to make sure that the safety and transparency of the food chain is being embraced. The Internet of Things for me is where it all connects together. How do we use all of these devices and connect them in real time to deliver information with greater and greater insights? Companies around the world, such as AgriWebb in Australia and the UK, Stella Maps in India, and then Dell, Cargill, Keenan's, all of them really using technologies through IoT to be able to allow us to manage those cows better. Will we be growing food on Mars? I certainly believe we hear a lot about it, and I'm very excited by that opportunity. But even today, with our feet on the ground, you can see the amount of money flooding into ag tech is increasing. And particularly in the last 6 months, I feel that more and more money has been put into the livestock area, much more as a proportion of the total amount of investment than ever before. So not to say that crop tech and food tech won't continue to be of interest, but I think if you look at the amount of deal flow that's occurring in the farm agricultural livestock area, livestock is certainly taking a greater and greater proportion of the deals. I have published a lot of these reviews on LinkedIn, obviously available free of charge to those who want to download them. Happy to engage with anybody if we don't get the chance to do so through questions today. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to show you a little bit of the excitement around livestock.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Aidan.